What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Combat Corporation, your source for combat sports. I'm your host, Al the Postmaster Tomorrow, and today I have a gear review on the Ouano MMA fight gloves. Alright folks, as always, I'm incredibly excited to bring you yet another gear review, as today I have one of the OGs of the MMA fight glove world. I have the Ouano MMA fight gloves, and these gloves are sanctioned by a lot of athletic commissions over the entire world and the country, of course. New York, New Jersey, California, Nevada, a bunch of other places, because this was really one of the original MMA gloves out there that was mass produced. I think the first glove made by UFC was actually Boxergenics made the first official gloves. Then it was Ouano, and I don't think a lot of people really remember Ouano, unfortunately, but Ouano kind of designed what you know today as the basic MMA glove, because they made the first basic MMA glove as far as this goes. Obviously, there is the Japanese style Pride glove, and kind of derived from the Bruce Lee Jeet Kune Do gloves. This was the first glove that was designed for grappling and striking all at once, and this was one of the first fingerless gloves that you could come and look at. And Ouano has been around for a very long time as a manufacturer for the UFC, WEC, Strikeforce. They even made gloves for Shuto back in the day. They even made gloves for Pride for a little bit, and they even make the Japanese style MMA gloves that I really want to try, because they were out of stock when I bought these almost a year ago now, or a little over a year ago. And these were part of the video that I made of which MMA fight gloves are the best out there for each promotion. So I did UFC, ONE FC, Ryzen, Bellator, name it. I did some PFL, and then Ouano I wanted to use because these are still used by guys like King of the Cage and a lot of other regional promotions, and this is really what those gloves were kind of designed after at the end of the day, in my opinion, because Ouano, for me, if you go back, designed gloves for virtually every promotion out there, and they're still going to this day, which is absolutely amazing. And so I'm happy that I have these, and I wanted to give them the light that they deserve. So at the end of the day, I'm excited to do this review because of that, and we'll see, because we're starting to really wind down on all the MMA gloves. I think after I review these, I really only have one more pair I'd like to review, one or two more pairs I'd like to review as far as mass-used MMA fight gloves, and we'll see, once again, at the end of the year, instead of using them the night of the fight, how they were in training. So with that said, like I said, this is the Ouano standard MMA fight glove. And I'm excited to go ahead and get into this review. So let's go ahead and talk about the model that I have. I got these in blue. I think there are two options on the website that I saw. They were in blue, and then they were in black. You can also get the official King of the Cage glove too that you can get from Ouano, and those are basically the same thing as these, only they're black. They're black and yellow with King of the Cage across the back of the glove. And you can get them in a ton of different sizes. I think all the way from extra small to triple XL or quadruple XL. And I actually got triple XL because if they were anything like the UFC glove, 2XL would fit me, but it'd still feel a little cramped. A lot of MMA gloves are a little bit different, and if these are basically what the standard MMA glove was made after, I wanted a bit of a bigger glove, so that's what I got. I got the 3XL, and it fits my hand really well, actually. It's weird, because the Leone 1947 gloves, the large, fit my hand really well, kind of like this does on the inside. The ONE FC XL or 2XL fits so tight. The UFC glove, 2XL, fits so tight. Bellator XL or the Everlast XL fits really well. It's all subjective on each brand, so that's why I try and give more room if I can. But at the end of the day, I got the 3XL blue. You can also get them in black, and you can get them in a ton of different sizes. Unfortunately, you cannot get them in lace-up I don't know who really enjoys the lace-up MMA gloves. I personally don't. But when we go into the look of the glove, it is one of the most basic designs I can tell you is that it is a blue MMA glove. And that's really about it, right? If you turn it all the way around, we have black and blue. That's about it. The back of the glove here, the striking surface, we have a nice Pride-style blue going on the back there. I love how that looks. And then down here, it says Ouano right there. And it's fading out a little bit in white text. And then down here it says Ouano fighter tested gear down here, which is really cool. And that's the logo that they have, the Ouano logo in a black patch on the wrist strap. I believe that's what it says, competition tested equipment, Ouano. And the logo just kind of looks like a guy going like this. So I don't know why, but it looks like it. We have black piping that is fraying really bad on the tips of the fingers here. You also have black piping which is also fraying really bad around the palm, and the interior lining is your standard black lining. When we open this up, you also have black Velcro, as most gloves do, and then you have the tag on the inside which tells you that it is a XXL right there, and I believe it has the commission tag, made by Ouano, made in Pakistan, www.ouano.com. So that's what the tag on the inside says. And then you can also see on the inside here, it's a bit of a different color blue on the inside, that suede material. When we talk about the build of the glove, we're going to talk about, we have a very nice cowhide leather on the back, and it is actually a decent thickness of leather over the glove, and it feels like a nice durable leather. It feels like a really strong wallet style leather. It kind of feels very similar to the Leone contest gloves, feels very similar to the Everlast Power Locks, but it is a bit more smoother. It's not quite as soft, but it is much more smooth than the other ones, and I like how that feels, and it feels really good. And you have that all the way throughout the glove. On the wrist strap, you have a nice long wrist strap that has that blue leather as well. The piping also seems like it was leather, but it's just kind of fraying off really bad, which we'll go into in a second. The back of the wrist is also blue. And it's that nice leather. And then when we pull this back, you can see the back part of the hide actually from the leather that's here, and it's like that suede material, because that's kind of like the inside of the hide itself is that suede that you got going on here, which feels really nice. So that's actually good on the back of the hand. And then back here on the wrist strap, you can see that we have an elastic piece, so when we go to open the glove up like this, we can pull it like that and put our hand in. One thing that I brought these up with my coach, Duff Holmes, because he coached Matt Hamill back in the very early days, right, even before the Ultimate Fighter, and he said old Ouano UFC gloves used to open up like this. So when I showed him these and they didn't open up like that, he was kind of confused. He said, Ouano used to make them open up like that, so I wonder why they don't now. So it is a closed off wrist, which is interesting. But it has that elastic strap, so it opens up pretty well. But we'll go back to the wrist in a second. We can talk about the padding on the glove, which is a 100% EVA foam, which is that, basically, like I said, it's what they use in bag gloves a lot, which is why I don't necessarily like them in fight gloves to hit people with, because you would never hit someone with a pair of bag gloves. But it is a softer EVA, and it's definitely a thicker EVA foam than you get than some other fight gloves out there, much like the Leone 1947s. They're definitely a bit stiffer, thinner padding. This feels like decent thickness, and it protects your knuckles pretty well. And you can tell it's one solid piece that kind of covers the back of your hand and your four fingers, basically like this. And then it goes there and curves forward. And actually put your fingers in a pretty decent, nice, natural curve, right? Unlike some of the older UFC models that kind of stick up like this a bit more. So it definitely has a bit more of a natural curve there to stop eye pokes. Though, as you know, if you watch any of my other videos, no glove on the planet can stop me from doing that. I'm sorry, it's just not possible. I know you'd like it to be the glove. It's a people issue. But at the end of the day, it has that nice curve because of that EVA padding. It almost feels like a gel. It kind of feels like the UFC glove that you have now with that gel padding. It feels like that gelish EVA, but you can definitely tell it's more of an EVA because it kind of curves in like this, and it doesn't necessarily just snap back. Well, it does snap back, but how can I word it? What gel does? Gel feels more like it's sinking in, whereas this is kind of pushing my finger away, and it snaps back that way. See how it's breathing a little bit more, whereas gel just whoop, snaps right back, and then like kind of curves and creases in a lot of awkward ways. It kind of molds the leather different. Like I said, when we go down to the wrist strap, like a lot of other fight gloves out there, there is no wrist support built into the glove right here on the back. There's no padding or anything, but what it makes up for, once you put your hand on the inside of your standard poly cotton, that dry fit pillow I always talk about is how it feels. It just feels like, you know, a backpack almost. When we stretch this up and open it, put my hand on the inside, it goes in really easy. And here's the really big part that makes the glove shine, is that the wrist support is absolutely awesome because of that big wrist strap. So when I go and punch, it doesn't feel like my wrist goes down. And even when I try and do it this way, I can feel this trying to pull my hand back and align me in a natural position. The other thing too is, look how easy my fingers kind of curl down, which is really, really nice. And I like how that goes. And when you punch, it actually feels really good. And on top of it, your fingers are pretty independent for the most part, even though, as you can see here, it is one solid bar and the fingers are all uniform with each other. But I think because the leather is so supple and smooth, you're able to really open, close, get a good grip and everything like that while the glove is on itself, right? And it feels pretty good and comfortable. Is it as like freeing as, say, the Ryzen glove? No, but they also have individual slits and stuff like that for the fingers. This does not. These are all uniform, but you can squeeze really easy. You can punch really good with these, and on top of it, like most commissions want you to do, if you put your fingers on the inside here and close your fist, that's the amount of padding you need. And it actually feels like I have as much space in this glove as I do like the Leone contest gloves, as I do the Power Locks, as I do PFLs. There's actually a good amount of room in here, and for a 3XL glove, it fits my hand really, really well. So I like where the padding lines up. I like the grips I can get in these. Really good S grips, good palm-to-palm grips. They slip underneath for underhooks, overhooks, under the neck, over the neck, really easy. So it's good for a grappler too. Overall, it feels really comfortable, guys, and I'm excited to go ahead and show you the bag work and the model view. Then we can go into my final thoughts with these gloves. So these gloves actually have really decent knuckle padding, and on top of it, the wrist support is great because of that really big wrist strap that you have. And it also has good grips, even though the glove doesn't allow my fingers to be completely uniform. I really feel like I can dig into the bag with these a little bit better than some because of that wrist strap. The wrist support's definitely great, but the knuckle padding for some still might not be as great. There are definitely other gloves out there that have better knuckle padding, but overall, really good for bags. So here we have the look of the Ouano glove, and it looks like a standard blue MMA glove. The palm-to-palm grips and S grips aren't terrible. You know, it's a little different for grips. You definitely can't get your basket grips or your finger interlocking grips all that great, but they are there. And overall, they look like an old school WEC glove, and I like how they look. There's no logo on the back, but you know, if you have a screen print, maybe you can put your name on it or something. But overall, the gloves look fairly basic. They are a fairly basic glove to use, but I still think you'll enjoy having these in your collection. Alright folks, so my final verdict for the Ouano MMA fight gloves is they're an OG for a reason. They're original, right? There's something that I really like about this because for me, it feels like they made the original and it worked really well for them. They haven't really branched out as much since, and I don't know why they would. When you kind of invented the wheel in some way, for me, is the credit that I give Ouano. Obviously, other brands out there made the original MMA fight glove model, but for me, Ouano, when you go back and look at it, I mean, so many brands, especially early days of the UFC, you know, WEC, Strike Force, name it. King of the Cage is one of the biggest regional promotions that still goes on to this day, that's been around forever, has been using Ouano since they started, which is absolutely insane. So Ouano is one of those brands out there, but with that said, it is still kind of your standard run-of-the-mill MMA glove, but I think it is built a lot better than some of the cheaper ones that obviously you get off Amazon. I definitely like these more than I do like the Sandoval Essential Gels, stuff like that. I like these more than like the cheap MMA things that you can get off, like the very cheap Venom gloves or the very cheap Everlast gloves that you get at Walmart. I mean, obviously these are way better, and they're also a little bit more expensive at $50. They're like $44-$50 with shipping. At the end of the day, it's going to cost you about $60 for a decent pair of MMA fight gloves. Where they fall short, I think the wrist support is good, knuckle padding is good, the quality overall of the glove is really good, but the one thing that I'm telling you is super annoying that I mentioned in the last video is they shave all of these different, I'm raking them up for you now so you might be able to see, all of this literally flakes off. The piping on the tips of the fingers around here flakes off so bad, it gets all over the mats, gets in your partner's face, gets on your arm, especially if you're a hairy guy like me, it gets all up in your arm hair. You have to like rake it out of your arm hair. It's just annoying. That's like, I'd not even call it a nitpick because that would annoy anybody. I don't know if I just got a bad batch here with these two gloves. But overall, I just don't like how that is. And they do mark up really easy too. Like they have like black right here, like marked right in. The paint marked right off on this one. Sorry, the light's reflecting really hard. Right off there, the paint flaked right off. But as far as like the rest of the glove, it operates well. But by God, it's just like you can see it on the back of my hands a little bit even. Like the little black specks all over it. And so I have to like brush that off. So that's really annoying, and that makes me worry about the rest of the glove. With that said, the knuckle padding is pretty good. The mobility that you have in your fingers is pretty good, and the wrist support is really good. And that's the one thing I like about it. I think the easiest way to make the glove even better is if you opened it up. Then you're able to close the material around. But for now, I'll go ahead and work my hand on the inside here. It takes a second. There we go. And now we're good. Okay, so you got a big, long, and thick elastic strap here, and you go ahead, or wrist strap here. It's not elastic, and you come here, and you're good to go. You still have very good mobility, but it protects your wrist well. And guys, guess what? If you want it a little bit higher on your wrist, no problem. You can go right underneath like that. Now your wrist is even more stabilized, right? So I got a pretty strong wrist and pretty strong knuckles in general, so I don't need to go too high, but it stabilizes my wrist backwards, stabilizes it from going down too far and side to side as well. But overall, it feels really good on my knuckles, feels really good to open and close the glove. Overall, it's pretty good. I'd say the one thing that, like I said, I hate, it makes them almost super annoying to use. I just don't like that. Is just the piping shaves off everywhere, and it's a pain in the butt to clean. And my coach is so overemphasized about that. He'll always say, whose gloves are falling apart? You know, with anyone's gloves, like if the vinyl's falling apart and stuff like that, whose gloves are falling apart? You're mopping it, you know, stuff like that. And you hear that all the time. So it's annoying when that happens. You got a ton of different sizes to pick from. You got 2 different colors to pick from. I actually strapped that too tight. And overall, I think if I could make one complaint, not even complaint, but maybe just like a suggestion, granted, like I said, they kind of design your standard MMA glove, is that I just make slits for the individual fingers so they can move a little bit more independently. But honestly, they move pretty well by themselves, just like they do if I open and close with my whole hand too. So overall, guys, they are actually a really good glove. I think Ouano is definitely one of those gloves out there that's just not as well known anymore, and I think they should be. But if you were to ask my opinion on what rating I'd give these, I'd give them a good 7 out of 10. And the reason why I tell you that is because there are other gloves out there that I'd prefer for that $40 to $50 range. You know, I don't like them. I like them just about as much as the Leone contest gloves as far as comfortability goes. They definitely have better wrist support than the Leone contest gloves. I think these have better wrist support than a lot of the MMA fight gloves out there, including the UFC gloves that we have now. I like them more than the One Championship gloves. I like them more than the current UFC gloves. I like them just about as much as the Fuji PFL gloves, to be honest. I really like how these go as far as grips for MMA goes, for wrestling, grappling. Their strikes are really nice. I love hitting the pads with these. If they were a little thicker, I dare say you can maybe do light MMA sparring in these. I definitely do light strikes, like, you know, hammer fists and strikes down like that. If I'm doing, you know, light flow rolling with my partners and stuff, you know, just fitting shots in there to the body, to the top of the head, just so I know where they are when I'm rolling. But overall, I was actually pretty impressed with these gloves as far as the knuckle padding goes, but by God, the flaking of the piping, I basically have to sit here one night and just do this and like flake it. just look how much alone, if I do that, if you can see in my hand, how much of the black stuff just like came right off just by doing that. So basically I have to sit here one night and crank all that stuff off, then I can finally use them once the piping's flaked off. So if anyone from Ouano sees this, please fix that. Other than that, the wrist strap I think has better wrist support than a lot of other MMA fight gloves out there. I'd put them up there with like the PFL Centuries. I think they're better than, to a certain extent, better than the Ryzen strap, I'd even say, because the Ryzen strap is short. Granted, when you tape it, the wrist support on most MMA gloves, fight gloves, isn't going to be great. But these, I like the thick elastic strap. I'm sorry, not elastic. I like the thick wrist strap. Feels pretty good. Protects my wrist really well. The EVA foam padding, though I don't like getting hit by it, obviously no one would, is a little softer. Good on the knuckles. Actually gives you a nice feedback, nice little puncher's pop if you ever want that. So overall, I think the Ouano glove gets a very nice 7 to 8 out of 10. I give it a 7 out of 10, primarily because quality control fixed that piping issue, and I think it'd be a lot better. And I've really like training in these. I love these for bag and pads and for rolling, but there are better MMA fight gloves out there. Although I will say for $45 to $50, not bad to add to your collection if you're a collector. I don't think these are going to mess up your hands too much at all if you get them. You got a ton of different sizes to pick from as well. I'm going to get a pair of their Japanese style MMA fight gloves because they look like the old school Pride. So I want to go and get those. Hopefully the piping doesn't fall apart on those either. So with that said, guys, if there's anything I missed in this review that you think that I did and you want to let me know about it, please comment below and also ask me which one I should review next. And put suggestions down there. I'd love to hear what you'd have to say. And as always, like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get notified every time I upload something to the channel. Been doing a lot of shorts lately you guys seem to like, as well as posting the community tab. Check out my social media, as I usually post something there every day. And you're always welcome to check that out on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, name it. I'm on it. I'm trying. And I always try and get back to you as fast as I can. But with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching The Combat Corporation. If you want to try these out, there's a link in the description below. And I always appreciate you choosing your source for combat sports for about 4 years now. So with that said, everyone, I've been your host, Al the Postmaster Morrow, and as always, I'll see you on the next episode. Have a good one, everybody.